Welcome, and please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Public Safety Honor Guard, the national anthem sung by Miss Jennifer Prince, and the invocation delivered by Fire and Rescue Chaplain Mr. Jeff Carter.
Honor Guard. Carry colors. Ready? Cut. Please stand.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Will you pray with me? Gracious God, on a day that started with clear skies and a crisp morning air, we are reminded, O God, of a day nearly 9 years ago when the perfection of the day was shattered by the imperfection of humanity. When peace was overwhelmed by division and a day of promise was turned to dark disappointment. And yet here we stand, united and together. We remember the lives lost on September 11th, families forever changed, and a nation who carries the memory of that day with a certain heaviness. Grant us grace and strength as we continue to live life this side of September 11th, 2001. As flags fly and patriots serve, and as this nation continues to bear the light of freedom, may we continue to reaffirm our greatest commitments and deepest values: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where some would divide us, we are united in how we maintain our identity and how we form our society. Even on this day, as Ramadan ends, the Sabbath begins, and the Christian Sabbath approaches, we are reminded of our religious freedoms and how voices of reason carry forth the light of tolerance, which leads to greater understanding, hope-filled cooperation, and, as our founding fathers would say, the building of a more perfect union. As all people pause this weekend to remember, let us not only remember the events of September 11th, let us remember who we are as a people and as a nation, remembering those who have gone before us and the generations that will follow our lead and who one day will celebrate our legacy, a legacy of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and yes, freedom. God, give us strength this day. Amen.
Please be seated. I would like to take a moment to recognize the various elected officials that are with us today. Representing this area, Prince William County, Senator George Barker, Senator. Delegate Luke Torian. Delegate Richard Anderson. And on the Board of County Supervisors, Supervisor Maureen Cadigan, Supervisor John Jenkins, Supervisor Frank Principe, and I believe that is all of the elected officials. Today, we come as Americans to remember the day that changed all of our lives. On that clear, blue, beautiful morning, the world as we knew it changed. And what happened at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania changed history. You can ask almost any person where they were on that day and they'll remember. They can tell you where they were. For some, the day was a day of great personal sadness and loss. Many of you gathered here can recount the stories of the friends and the loved ones that you lost. Some here today experienced the events firsthand. Many were there, risking your own lives, tending to the wounded, and saving others. There are some who are too young to remember, but regardless, 9/11 changed all of our lives. That's why we gather here, to remember those who we lost. May we never forget that date, September 11th, 2001. May we never forget those innocent lives that were taken on that terrible day. The flagpole proudly flying the American flag and the 9/11 flag was donated by Mrs. Brenda Lynch. And at this time, I'd like to call Ms. Lynch up to the podium at this time. As some of you may know, Brenda's husband, James T. Lynch Jr., lost his life at the Pentagon on 9/11, 2001. This flagpole standing at the Liberty Memorial is the flagpole that James T. Lynch Jr. erected at his home in Prince William County. Brenda donated the flagpole in his name, and in honor of his memory, we'd like to give Brenda the 9/11 flag, which has flown over the memorial since that time. So thank you, Brenda, in appreciation and remembrance of Prince William County, and a remembrance of James's service to our country, and on behalf of a grateful community, we want to thank you and your family. If you look around you at the Liberty Memorial, take a moment to recognize the symbolism of the event. The shape of the reflecting pool and the walkway recall the 184 men and women who lost their lives at the Pentagon that day. The single stone to the left of the plaque is the original limestone block that from the collapsed portion of the Pentagon. The two columns of water represent the 2,749 people who were lost at the World Trade Center in New York City. The stone that encircles the fountain is Pennsylvania flagstone, a tribute to the 40 lives lost in Pennsylvania. In the near future, a piece of steel artifact from the World Trade Center will be added to this area as well. Since this memorial is dedicated to the memory of the greater Prince William area residents and all those who lost their lives during the tragic events of September 11th, we will read the names of the Prince William County residents who lost their lives that day. Please feel free to place your flower around the fountain as you leave this afternoon. Sergeant First Class John J. Chatta, U.S. Army, retired. Specialist Jamie L. Fallon, U.S. Navy. Amelia V. Fields. Lieutenant Colonel Robert J. Himmel, United States Air Force, retired. Sergeant Major Lacey B. Ivory, United States Army. Judith L. Jones. David W. Lachik. James T. Lynch, Jr. Jean E. Malloy. Robert J. Maxwell. Malloy L. McKenzie. Craig J. Miller. Diana B. Pedro. Rhonda S. Rasmussen. Edward V. Rowenhorst. Judy Rowlett. Donald D. Simmons. Jeff L. Simpson. Cheryl D. Sincock. Chief Information Systems Technician Greg H. Smallwood, United States Navy. Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland, United States Army. Sandra L. White.